You tell me, guys.
I'm getting notifications that should be into the box.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Buenos dias. Welcome to Texas.
Buenos dias.
Are you guys hungover? Hope not. We have 2 long days, so very excited. So to start off, very quickly, thank you to the sponsors. We have a sponsors lounge next door. So very cozy. We have a retro pie set up pretty soon, so you're going to be able to do your Nintendo skills to the test pretty soon. But thank you for these guys for supporting us every year. Also, all the speakers that are here from across the land, thank you so much. I know it takes time from your families to be here, so thank you very much for preparing all the work that you're doing, so thank you very much. And of course, thank you. This year was, we had over, I think it was 58 or 60 attendees, so it was great. This is the first time we detach and do this on our own, so it's very exciting. We have over 6 countries represented, over 25 states represented here, so very excited to see how people are responding throughout time. We have a mobile app, so all the session schedule is there. The sessions and the conference surveys are available there as well for your feedback. You can take a snapshot if you like. We also use our own dog food. So ContentBox CMS and Couchbase and Ionic and AngularJS are the technologies behind the mobile app, which also powers our site. So you can attend Gavin's sessions to see how we actually did this. This is thanks to Brad. Where's Brad? It was his idea. So you can win the ITV drone. So the person with the most relevant tweets wins. We also have Mr. Michael Smith here from TerraTech. Where are you, Michael?
Right here.
There he goes, from the CoFusion Alive podcast. So I'm pretty sure some of the speakers got interviewed by Michael. So he is in the sponsor lounge. He's going to be doing live podcasting as well. So CoFusion Alive. So check it out. Great podcast and more to come. Right, Michael?
Lots more to come. And if anyone wants to be interviewed or if hasn't been interviewed already, whether you're an attendee or if you're speaking, happy to interview you. And also, I'm going to be asking attendees some questions about CoFusion. Why are you proud to use CoFusion? And what would it take for CoFusion to be more alive this year? Because I want to see CoFusion be the #1 modern alive language for doing web development.
Good. All right. And then don't forget, Happy Box tonight with our special surprises. Right? Mr. Seth over there, I'll take some time so you can send a picture to Kurt. But we'll meet up. We'll finish around 6:30 or so. There should be some appetizers like yesterday, some free drinks for you guys. And of course, our special yearly surprise, our mariachi band will be delighting us with some sounds.
Oh, they're coming back.
Oh yeah, bigger this time around. So the whole Ortus team is here. So if you are in the Ortus team, you can check out in our booth if you have questions for us. Anything from our products to anything of our services, we're all here to kind of help you throughout these 2 days. So to start off, throughout the years, we've grown from a single box called Cold Box to many boxes nowadays. So we'll be showing you a lot of the roadmaps and things that we're doing with our products, new things we're dreaming of. Hopefully we'll get you guys excited about. However, before we start, I thought it would be interesting to do story time. So I have a little story for you guys called, "You're Still Coding in That?" So this story begins around 2013 with a lot of frustration. A lot of what the heck is going on? There are no tools, there are no CLIs, all of the other kids are just doing so many cool things and we are so behind. Very frustrated. We got into something called CFML shaming. Lack of tooling, lack of package management, lack of CLIs, any type of operating system integrations, a lot of non-existent open source applications, and a dirty word, legacy hell, right? And we were way behind the kids. So we were starting to get tired of being bullying, of being ashamed of what we were doing. Most of our tooling looked like this in that era. Few pieces here, few pieces there. It worked. I'm done, right? Next project, another bridge. So it definitely was exciting, but not very efficient. So we started thinking, how can we modernize CFML? And the problem was that the hard reality was that vendors couldn't do it all, or maybe they didn't want to do it at all. But we just didn't care. So we were like, no, we're going to work harder and we're going to make CFML great again. So we began with tooling. That was our number one need that we needed for projects. And of course, community. So believe it or not, almost 3 years ago, we released the first version of Command Box, which was a dreamt up proof of concept. It was just something we had pieced together with Denny Valiant and Brad and everybody. And actually, Brad hated the idea at the beginning, so let me put that out there. Until I finally convinced him that it was a good idea, and he finally listened. And we started almost 3 years ago on this road of Command Box. And it has matured a lot throughout these years, from full CLI integration to full package management and version, a REPL built in, an integrated server, and this is where we have done a tremendous amount of strides that I think that even other languages have not done, are ForgeBox offerings for open source packaging in the cloud. Everything is built on Cold Fusion, so we wanted to make it extensible so anybody that knows CFML can actually write commands, something that is very unique to Command Box. Automation, we started a thing for recipes and the ability to do task management as well at the operating system level. And of course, scaffolding. So you can actually use it for framework authors, and libraries to make more productivity at hand at the operating system level. So believe it or not, it has been more than 3 years now, and it has grown and matured. One area we've been really moving and pushing forward is embedded servers, especially now a day in the age of containerization. So we now can run any CFML engine through Command Box and actually any Java WAR as well. So we're actually moving into Java territory as well with Command Box, as you will see today. We have our cloud offering for ForgeBox for package management. You'll see some new things that we've released this week on ForgeBox, and a new project by Brad called CFconfig to allow you to configure pretty much every single setting in any CFML engine throughout time. And now, containerization and what we're calling Java containers. Our next focus was community. What are we going to do to start this up again? So we created newbie initiatives. So in all our projects, we're creating newbie tags so people can come in and collaborate with all our projects, pull requests, and it has been an incredible initiative that we got a lot of people involved, and you'll see soon how many pull requests we've done throughout maybe a year. ForgeBox.io was released for everybody in the CFML community. Documentation priority, as always, you know, we love documentation, so we're making sure that everything is available for people. This conference, of course, this is the 4th year. We also do our Ortus Developer Week, which is the virtual conference, again, also this year in November. We pretty much attend all CFML conferences, and now we're attending all non-CFML conferences, especially Java-related conferences as well. We've done a lot of API implementations and libraries. We pester the heck out of everybody to include CFML in their pages, so we're building all these things. Yesterday we got accepted in Swagger, because thanks to John Clausen, we built the official Swagger SDK and Swagger APIs, so they're now available online as Profusion SDKs. We've done Rollbar, GitHub, Bcrypt, S3, Google, FreshBooks, Twitter, Salesforce, and Eric Peterson every day doesn't sleep and just pulls out modules every night. So we've been really trying to foment people and really encourage them to collaborate, and we've had over 1,000 pull requests already in a span of less than a year. So it's been really, really impressive people collaborating with all the projects that we're doing. We also announced an initiative last year, Ortus University. So this year we already started already. It's available now, and we have several courses available. And this is how we wanted to tackle and demystify education and bring developers online. So we have almost all those courses complete and available. There will be live trainings available for folks from CFML for PHP developers, Content Box developer, building RESTful services, BDD and automation. So all these things are available for us to train folks in all these areas. However, we still have to tackle one problem in this story. Our bad word problem, the legacy problem. And this is something that we can't solve. Everybody else needs to solve it. Which means if you have legacy applications, who has legacy applications? Almost everybody. It really gives CFML a bad name. Because sometimes they're prone to security issues, to performance issues, employee issues, development issues, finding developer issues. It is just crazy to think that over 35% of folks that did the State of the Union survey use no MVC framework at all. It was more surprising that over 60% have no clue on using a dependency injection framework. And over 55% are not testing. And I'm pretty sure the other 45% are probably lying. So it is scary to think that, and it's scary to see that the usage of all these old engines. And that's what gives CFML a bad name, is that we're using so many old and legacy junk that people don't really want to get motivated. No wonder nobody wants to do it. I mean, this is the reality why people sometimes can't find developers. They are using no MVC frameworks or methodologies. It's just spaghetti hell. No object orientation at all. It's just CF include or CF tag hell. No automated tests, no continuous integration, no continuous deployments, not even agile or Scrum methodologies, not even source control. zip files don't count. Right? Developer automation. It is just the hard reality. I was in a known employer once, and they hired this young guy who was very, very sharp, and in a week he left because of the spaghetti craziness that he was going to get involved with. And that is the reality. It needs to move forward. You cannot stay in this nice flying plane. Would you like to fly that? No, you will not. So the moral of the story is that you need to drive this innovation. It has to stop. This insanity of legacy hell has to stop. You need to start building more libraries, building more of these things. That's why we're building so many tools that we're going to start showing today in order to motivate you to get out of this and actually do something cool that you can be proud of, right? Share it. You know, that's why we're here, right? And proud to be building CFML apps again. So hopefully all the things that we'll show you today and throughout the next 2 days are going to motivate you to really get out of legacy hell, because there are so many problems with it that hopefully will be an encouragement for you. So that's my story. That's the beginning of the conference. So now I will give you the box evangelist, Mr. Brad Wood.
All right, how we doing? Coffee kicking in slowly?
Waking up.
Slowly waking up. Okay, first, Let's talk about cold box, the original box. By the way, the plural of box is boxen, according to Jeff Bowers, so not boxes. All right, so our big box theory, right? Cold box has had 50 plus releases. It's a very mature framework now. It's been over 11 years since we released it. Last year was our 10-year anniversary. It's an established framework, but it's still growing. We released version 4.0 in January of 2015. And right now we have the ColdBox 5.0 beta available. You can install it with command box, install ColdBox at bleeding edge. Our vision for ColdBox 5, we have a lot of new features, things we want to add into the core. We want to increase modularity in the ecosystem. Obviously with ColdBox 3, we introduced the concept of modules, and with ColdBox 4, we began breaking the framework apart and creating modules out of those things. So we're continuing that going forward. With ColdBox 5, we want to really increase the ecosystem on ForgeBox and CommandBox, so you have a lot of tools available when you're building. Containerization is also a big focus. We're seeing a huge trend going on for a while now. All the cloud hosting stuff has been focusing around containerization and Docker, so we want to make sure we're at the forefront of that. Renderings, view renderings, templating languages is one of our features for ColdBox 5. Also focusing a lot on RESTful APIs. Lots of people are writing RESTful APIs. John's been doing a lot of work with Relax, and we want to make that even more easier, more conventions out of the box with ColdBox for your RESTful APIs, and improve scaffolding as well, so you can get applications built faster. To help support containerizations, you do a lot of things with environment variables, and Java system properties. So we've built some nice built-in functions into the framework. So in your ColdBox CFC for application configuration or for module CFC, you can get system properties, get environment variables right there with some convenience methods in ColdBox. That's to help people get their applications deployable anywhere. Some of the features we're looking at for ColdBox 5 is also auto return marshalling for handlers to reduce the amount of boilerplate inside your handler. If you want to return JSON, you just use an annotation that says render data equals JSON, and you just return your data from the handler, and ColdBox will render that for you. Obviously, there's many versions you can do, XML, PDF, whatever type of data that render data supports. And also even a handler default. So if you have a REST API and every action returns JSON, why should you have to put render data JSON in every action? Just say this handler returns JSON, right? And your actions just have to return the data they want. So we're looking at simplifying the REST usage. Also, we're looking at new rendering types as well. There's a lot of people using some custom rendering engines like Markdown and Mustache and some of those other templating languages, and they want to be able to use those inside of ColdBox and ColdFusion applications. So we're looking for first-class support for those inside of ColdBox, so you can use something other than HTML for your templating, CFML. Another feature we're looking at doing here, actually this is done, this feature is available already in the beta, is named regions. A lot of times when you guys are working on complex apps and you have a lot of different things on your home page that are all separate viewlets for your rendering, you have to render those and store them in variables to pass them around. So now you can set multiple views in your handler, give those views a name, sidebar, viewlet, column 2, and then in your layout you can just reference them by name and say I want the sidebar to be here, right? So the named regions is something you can play with right now in the beta. Another thing, which actually we just merged the pull request, so this is in the beta now as well, is routing by convention. If you're creating a REST API or even an app, a lot of times you have a resource like photos, and you're going to have just the basic CRUD operations, create, update, delete, list, right? So with a single line of convention in your routing, you can basically scaffold out all of the different HTTP verbs and the actions for a given resource to help kind of minimize the amount of boilerplate code you have to use, and to bring consistency to ColdBox applications. Have to wait till John finishes taking his picture. Also, we're going to be adding a new fluent routing DSL. We've wanted to rework the routes.cfm configuration file for a while. So we're going to have a nice chainable DSL, which will be more readable, to give you some nice ways to configure your REST APIs and the HTTP verbs that you want those to map to. And there's a lot more to come, a lot more features and things we're adding in with our Wirebox, Logbox, and Cachebox in our box ecosystem. Next we have CommandBox. So, since last year, which seems like it wasn't that long ago, we've had multiple CommandBox releases. In 3.1.1, we added support for running Adobe ColdFusion servers, Rilo and Lucy servers of any version, which was great for multi-server. Our ForgeBox 2.0 came out. You can have multiple versions of the same package. You can do CLI publishing, and also our package scripts for automating creation of packages and publishing those, right? Commandbox 3.3 brought more web server enhancements like web server aliases, custom error pages, customizing the train menu icons so you could really customize your servers. 3.5 allowed you to live follow your log files whenever you start up a server. You can do console starts to start a server up in the foreground and just watch the standard out stream and hit Control-C to stop the server. Also, even custom server home directories, which are great for some of the containerized deployments. You want to be able to know where to write your configuration to. You can have a completely customizable installation. 3.6 improved custom binary execution, so you can have interactive binaries at your operating system you execute inside of Commandbox. And also fix getting some proper exit codes, so you can use commands like testbox run inside of a Jenkins build, and it properly will fail your test if your tests fail. So we've added a lot of stuff in the last year with Commandbox. We're focusing on 3 major areas of improvement. Obviously, the embedded servers and containers is a big area. There's a lot of people using Commandbox now, not only just for development, but for even production servers, because it's so much easier to package up a server exactly the way they want it and throw it out there on a VM or in a container on a Docker without having to go through the steps of manually installing a Cold Fusion engine and configuring it. Package management, as always, we're doing tons of improvements and features to ForgeBox so you guys can have collaborators for your packages. You can have more options with your organizations. And of course, CLI scripting. We want Cold Fusion developers to stop using Node to write CLI tools. They can do it in CFML, and in my opinion, it's every bit as good and even in some ways better than writing CLI tools in Node or some other language. There's tons of tools there. So we want to make it as easy as possible for you guys to make libraries in your native language. So, Docker. You're going to see this slide a few times because we love our Docker stuff this year. We have been working, and they're available right now on some Commandbox-based Docker images that let you run any version of Cold Fusion, so Lucy, Adobe Cold Fusion. You can run any WAR file, so if you just have a Java shop that has some sort of Java WAR that you're deploying in a server container, you can run those inside of Commandbox as well using our Docker images. So all the server settings are portable, your JVM arguments, your heap size, everything about how the web server runs, as well as all of your Cold Fusion engine settings are portable as well. Your data sources, your mappings, request timeouts, everything you normally have to manually configure in that web-based administrator, you can now automate. And of course, built-in image health checks. So our Docker images are coming together quite nicely, and they're doing quite a bit of stuff, and we're using them already with clients. So here's an example of a quick Docker compose that could use one of our Docker images to have an Nginx container, a ColdBox application container, and MySQL with just a few lines of configuration. So there's a lot of portability and functionality available with that. So the server.json is kind of the core for that. You have your application and your server.json. You can have all your settings. This gets picked up by the Docker container. Updating the Cold Fusion engine installation is sort of a non-issue now, right? You never upgrade a server. You just update the container to say now use update 4 of Cold Fusion 2016, and then you redeploy your Docker containers. Everything's on the new version. So managing your servers is a lot easier. You can use multiple versions of Cold Fusion at the same time. And cloud scaling is really easy. We do a lot of work with Docker Swarm, and the ability to say, give me 10 Lucy 5 servers right now, and within 30 seconds they're all spun up and running, is amazingly cool, and you can do it right now with our Docker images. And of course, our cfconfig tool that we'll talk about a little bit more. But cfconfig is a project that lets you manage any of the Cold Fusion settings for any version of Adobe Cold Fusion or Lucy, and have a generic JSON format that can hold all of your data sources, your Cold Fusion mappings, your debugging settings in one generic format, and then you can use cfconfig just to import it into any Cold Fusion engine you want. So there's no manual setup of your Cold Fusion engines anymore. You can automate all of it and script it. If you want to play with our Docker image, you can do Docker pull or to solution/commandbox, and then to run it, it's just a matter of Docker run, and you give it a volume to wherever your code is, and you can run it that easily. Package management, still doing a lot of work with this, packaging your code so it's reusable. One of the big deficiencies in the Cold Fusion space has always been just having open source packages and libraries out there for people to use. So with ForgeBox and Commandbox, It's getting way, way easier to publish. Just even a simple function that does something cool, you can throw it up on ForgeBox, and it only takes a few lines of code now from your CLI, like literally like 2 lines of code. And you can have a package completely published, right? So sharing your code, installing it from anywhere, and automating that. So increasing, making a change to a package is just a matter of bump, minor, and publish. And now it's on ForgeBox for the world to see, right? CLI scripting, doing a lot of work here. Obviously, you can write, native operating system, commands. You can run to script things. You can access the database inside of your commands. So imagine having a cron job that does some database work every night, but it runs on Cold Fusion, right? Those are the things you can do with Command Box. It's very easy to create recipes and automate everything you do using Cold Fusion. So our roadmap for Command Box, we want to get more support into CF-config, more Cold Fusion engines supported, make sure we have all the settings supported. So if you guys play with that and you find a setting or something that doesn't work yet, put in a ticket and we can get on the roadmap to fix. Adding WebSocket support, additionally, for Command Box servers. More build automations, build runners. We want people to stop using Ant and XML to try to do builds. We want them to be able to use CFML and have command line based builds with Command Box. Maven support to manage jar dependencies as well in your Cold Fusion applications. Migrating the core CLI Command Box to Lucy 5 is also something we're going to do. And the ability to take an application, package it up, and deploy it in the cloud is another functionality we're going to be working on. And finally, ForgeBox, the other piece of our trifecta. If you haven't been to forgebox.io in a while, check it out. It's got a new UI. It's got a lot of packages on there. In the last year, less than a year, we've had 335 contributions, new packages showing up. We've had 4 minor releases. We've been improving the API for ForgeBox, and it's definitely been a learning experience. But we really want to push the entire Cold Fusion community to use this. Even if you're not using ColdBox, you can still put any Cold Fusion package or project you want on ForgeBox. It's not limited just to the box world. As far as our roadmap, private packages, that one's crossed off. That's because it's ready for some beta testers right now. This is the ability for you to have packages you put on ForgeBox, but they're private. Only you can see them for your internal builds. It's not a public package, but you still get the benefit of using Command Box package management to build your servers on your staging servers and your production servers, but with private packages. So that's free right now. It's going to be a paid service in the future, but jump on right now and you can test it out. Code storage is us actually storing your code for you, right? So when you publish a package, if it's a private package, we can store it for you privately on S3. We're going to be adding support for organizations and teams, so not just you, but you and your coworkers can all collaborate together on packages. Also just having collaborators from the community. So if I want Gavin to help be able to work on a package of mine, I can add him as a collaborator on ForgeBox, and we'll both be able to collaborate. Transferring packages, notifications and digests, some features we're looking at so I can subscribe to people like Eric and get like just daily notifications when his new packages come out. Webhooks. And also, we'd like to look at turning the ForgeBox site into a Lucy extension provider. So if you write a Lucy extension, you could publish it to ForgeBox, right? We're also going to be introducing our pro accounts for private packages like we talked about. It'll be a subscription-free private packages. We'll store it for you on S3, free for a limited time. And so you would do something like install at Ortus/Rafflebox, and that would be a private package only you could install, right? Additionally, we are looking at having enterprise image of ForgeBox. So if you work for a large company or maybe a government organization and you're not allowed to host packages or your code outside of your little precious firewall, right? You can have your own version of ForgeBox that's a Docker image you deploy locally as an appliance inside your firewall, and you can still have Command Box-based automated builds, and nothing ever leaves your firewall. It's all private and internal, right? So that'll be coming soon. And also an enterprise managed. So maybe you want to have a dedicated version of ForgeBox for your company, but you just don't want to have to host it. Ortus would host that for you, but it would be your private instance of ForgeBox for you guys to use privately. So those are some of the things on the roadmap for ForgeBox. We really want to be able to pull in the community and pull in companies to use this. So with that, I will give you to our ColdBox Elixir guru, Mr. Eric Peterson.
Thanks, Brad. All right, ColdBox Elixir? Anytime. Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar for Elixir, this is Ortus's solution for simplifying your front-end builds. The front-end world is vast, and there's a lot of tools out there, and a lot of complexity, and Elixir helps simplify that to just a few lines of configuration, still losing none of the ability and the tools out there in the community. So over the last 6 months or so since we launched Elixir, we have a lot of new extensions. Extensions are how we bring in new functionality that's coming out daily in the JavaScript ecosystem. Our newest being TypeScript, some updates to Webpack View, which is a wonderful front-end framework that we're all fans of at Ortus, and many more. If you've been using Elixir for a while, you'll be familiar. We're taking your resources, your assets in your resources, and moving them down to your includes folder. But you might be asking, what about all my modules? Modules are the big thing. We can split our app up. We don't have to package it all in the main app. How can I get the same workflow without having to CD into a folder, run Elixir there? That just sounds like a pain. So there's a new mix.modules method. It's using all the same conventions that you're used to with your resources. Every method that's available in Elixir is available here. If you don't have a file for your module, we'll just move on and ignore it. And watch mode works fast, spiffy fast, and just like you would expect and hope. Kind of looks like this. You give a mix.modules call, and then in your Elixir module, you can use all those same mix scripts. Gives you the same paths that you'd expect. If all these are interesting to you, there's a session coming up just for you tomorrow. Coming next, is before I make Gavin come up. Let's see. Here we go. We have improvements to mix.version. Right now it gives you a build folder. We're going to do that in place. Also do it automatically with the production flag. And more tighter integration with Webpack. Webpack's kind of emerging as the bundler standard. We've been supporting browser find rollup as well, which still will happen. But we're going to put some more power in there so you can use all the power of Webpack without having to dive in to a Webpack config file. So come learn how to simplify your front-end builds and quit copying and pasting that configuration and being sad when it breaks. So, thanks.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome, okay. Well, I am Gavin. I'm with Content Box. That's my big baby. We're excited about Content Box. As you know, we've been developing it for quite some time now, and within the last year, we've released 3.0, which is a major update in Content Box. We've had several changes since as well. So 3.1 was a big change. We did a lot of reconstruction with Content Box for 3.5. All the containerization, we had to make a lot of major changes, so we decided it was worth an almost major bump in that. So 3.5 just came out just recently, and 3.51 was just 2 weeks ago. So if you haven't checked it out, there's a lot of different changes in there, and we're excited about what we've been doing. 4.0 is underway, and if you want to start playing with it, you can do that with the bleeding edge. So 3 major areas of improvement. We've been working on, like I said, containers, the update process, and the maintenance, very important to us. The UI, SEO, and admin has been big as well. Getting a lot of requests about people starting to use it more and more, and they want us to make sure that it's accessible. And admin and tooling is always important for us at Ortus. So as Brad said, you'll see the slide lots today. So now, straight out of the box for Content Box, using the Docker image built from command box, you can have H databases or any relational database right out of it. We have auto session distribution, cache distribution, because obviously working in a Docker world, you need to make sure that everything is clusterable, cluster friendly. Redis and Couchbase is simple to get up and running. Just add it to your compose. It's never been easier. And of course, since we did build on top of the command box Docker image, we have all the built-in image health checks, etc. So all that goodness right there for you. If you want to get up and running, just like Brad said with the Docker image, you can pull the content box image, and basically you're up and running in a couple of lines of code. Now, since we are changing everything with the way Docker is built, like I said, we did make some major structure changes to the way the updates are working. So now, if you do install Content Box like you once did, it won't work quite the same way. So when you install Content Box now, you're just installing the module itself. So if you already have an existing app, install Content Box will add that to your app. If you want the entire website, so a new app with Content Box installed, use the install Content Box site, and that'll give you the structure of the site, your main config, and the actual content itself. And if you want to go through the installer too, so maybe you need a fresh install like the traditional, you do the install Content Box dash installer, and that'll give you the DNS creator, the installer, and then start you through that process. So a couple of changes there, but it's really easy to get up and running. Command Box makes everything simple. And again, Docker, changing the way we do everything right now. So, because you need to worry about stuff like, your settings, where your mounts are and everything with Docker, you need a way to be able to put stuff into Content Box. So now, inside the Content Box configuration, you can actually set your Content Box settings. So that'll override your database settings. So as you deploy, you can deploy them on the fly. And because we need to override those as well, you have Java environment variables and everything you can set as well. So, sorry, let me go back one. So one thing I wanted to point out here, so when you're overriding the Docker and Java environment settings, you'll see that there's a site in there now. So we are working with multi-tenant. We're getting closer and closer to that. We're already putting code to make that available. So when you're setting your variables, you put the site, which is usually default for the main site, but you can start actually using your multi-site stuff in there. So we're getting closer and closer to multi-tenant. I know a lot of people are asking for that. So we're getting there. So one thing we just released in one of the latest versions is the admin bar. So we love this. I've had this on several older content management systems, and we just love the fact that you can easily get to the admin for different pieces anywhere on your site. So when you're logged in, you have the right permissions. At the top of your site, you can have the admin bar now. It's going to show you what information about the page that you're on, when it was published, what layout it's using. You can quickly get to edit the page, jump into the SEO stuff, look at the history, the versions. All that information is available right on top of the bar. And if you don't like it, there's a setting to turn it off. Localization, we want to thank Computer Know-How for pushing us here. They've got a big project coming out. And if you go see Seth's session later in the week, he's going to show us some cool stuff that they're working on right now for localization. We've added some new markup straight into the editor that allows you to output some stuff from your resource files, but you want to see what they're cooking up over there because it's going to blow you away. All this stuff is built on top of the normal resource packages, and we're really excited to be moving that way. We get a lot of questions about how to do I-18N the right way, so now we're going to be able to offer you more solutions there. Sitemap. Most people, submitting things to Google or whatever have their own little custom scripts, and that's something we get a lot of requests for, so we built this in now. So really simple. You have options for multiple formats. It's distributed caching, so cluster friendly, and make it super simple. All your content on your site are easily added to your sitemap, and you can turn to show, hide, basically, and it's dynamic as well. Open graph support. A lot of people asked us, why do I paste this into Facebook? Does it show me the wrong picture? We just added some quick little open graph support there, so now it generates all that for you. When you're having a blog post or a page and use our featured image, the image is supported as well. So it makes it easy, nice little thing for when you're trying to get your social sharing working. So that is now in there as well. Image editing. One of the things that everyone's always been asking for, image editing, and now we have some good support there now. So when you're working the media manager, you can easily edit an image. We've got options for cropping, resizing, transforming, so a lot of that now you can easily do. You can override the existing image or save to a new one, pretty straightforward. And we have some new stuff coming with images as well. Global search. Inside the admin, if you got a site like we do with all the content box posts into the box post, it gets kind of crazy. So the search is being beefed up to make it more user friendly too. So not only does it look a little prettier, showing gravitas for users, etc., now you can actually use scope searches, which I think is pretty cool. So if you're just looking for a person, you can scope it to look for just authors. You can look for content store items using text, etc. So really simple, and it's extendable via modules too. So if you want to add more modules into the search, you can just extend it, add your own little juice, and away you go. So the roadmap. We got a huge roadmap. Always adding more things every day. We had the Content Box workshop yesterday, which was great. Had a lot of good feedback. We had a lot of new things. We shared some stuff. We also added some more to the roadmap. But we're going to do a lot of UI upgrades into the admin and add a lot of Vue.js. Like I said, we like Vue.js here. Multi-tenancy, like I said, we're already adding pieces into the code to make it ready. We're working on multi-tenant. If anyone actually needs multi-tenant, please talk to us. We want to find out what you use it for, because everyone's multi-tenant is a little different. So we want to make sure we're going to do it the right way. So please contact us about that. We're working on cluster modes and cluster support settings. So if your content box is running in a cluster, we're going to give you some like a cluster dashboard, so you can actually work on, what are the other cluster items doing, and certain features work better in clusters. So we're going to support that. We have custom content types coming with some magic admin crud. So basically, you set up your own custom content types, add your fields, etc., and then it'll automatically create all the administrative screens for you. So without touching the database, without touching your code, you can basically set up new modules inside Content Box. So we're excited about that. More image management. A few people like WordPress's thumbnails, different sizes. We gave you the flexibility before to do what you want, but people said we want WordPress images, so we're giving you that now too. So modules can register image sizes, and you'll be able to have that generate them on the fly, thumbnails, etc. So that way you can have your blog post can generate the right size image for your layout, your theme, etc. Content scheduling is a big thing. Into the box, I don't know if you noticed or not, but there was a lot of blog posts going out, a lot of tweets going out, and we want to make that easier to manage. So we're going to have a little drag and drop calendar so you can see what things are coming out when, be able to move things, schedule things, and hook them to social media as well. And of course, themes and modules, when you're using so much of ForgeBox, we really want to give you ways to extend them. We don't want to have you having to copy, paste, and customize everything. So we're going to give you a nice, easy way to give you overrides. So maybe you like this theme, but you want to change that blog layout a little bit, or maybe you want to add something else to it. Then you'll be able to just override that output. So we're going to give you a theme overrides. So a lot of great things going on Content Box, but I can't talk all day. Come to my session to find out a little more about it. And right now we got John.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
So one of the most recent releases is the new version of ColdBox Relax in version 3.0. If you're not familiar with Relax, what it is it assists you in documenting and testing your APIs. So it's a very helpful tool, and one of the things that we've been passionate about is making sure that not only are you documenting your code, but you're testing it as well. Some of the exciting features in Relax 3.0 are that OpenAPI and Swagger are now the default standard. The legacy API, which is called Relax DSL, has been sunsetted and scheduled for end of life as of version 4.0. It is exportable, however, if you've used previous versions of Relax, to the OpenAPI Swagger specification. So it's a great time to take a look at that. If you've got an existing API documentation, OpenAPI is much more portable. There are a lot of web services out there that are able to consume it and use it, and it allows you a lot more flexibility in documenting and providing that information about your API and how to consume it to your consumers and clients. Revamped UI with in-doc linking and path drill downs. So if you're working in a team, you can paste a link and provide it to another developer, and they can take a look at that documentation. So there's a really nice UI in place on that one. We've also got a path explorer with parameters and schemas, so you can really drill down and provide all the information you need so that developers or just consumers for a public API can get up and running very quickly. The UI also encourages the principles of RESTful API design and consumption, which is designed with that in mind. Also, because we've migrated to using the Swagger schema as default, we have machine consumable documentation as well, which you can also use and reuse in your APIs. One of the things that we did with Swagger was we broke it out into 3 different modules, and one is simply an SDK. So you can actually use, independent of Relax itself, the Swagger SDK to deliver documentation and self-aware information about your APIs to consumers through, for example, an HTTP options request. That nested linking of documentation also allows you to get to document really complex APIs and automate the process of providing schema examples for both input and output of your API. We've also updated the Relaxer API test tool. Some of you have used tools like Postman. This is a consolidated version of this that allows you to test and store your history of routes. So when you're developing an API, you can test it right from within your application. You can save your history and you can replay those as you're working forward. So it allows you a lot of flexibility within your app as you're documenting or developing APIs to be able to test those and vet those before you release. So Relax version 4 on the roadmap for that is that the DSL, as I noted, will be deprecated. We'll be adding support for additional formats. RAML is one now that is kind of emerging. So we'll be looking at adding support for that. API live scaffolding and in-place editing of documentation. The test tool is going to be enhanced and modularized for additional flexibility. So we'll actually be breaking that out into its own module as well. And additional export formats and custom theming, so that if you want to be able to provide documentation to your consumers, you can wrap it and in your own theme. So that's on the roadmap for Relax version 4. Next up, what's next at Ortus? So we've talked a lot about some of the great tools that are out there, and one of the common themes that wraps them together is portability. One of the focus areas that we have is to make CFML more portable and more flexible, which in turn makes it more appealing down the road. So let's talk about what portable CFML looks like. The idea of portable CFML is that you can run it in anywhere, that you are independent of hardware. In many cases, you're independent of the underlying operating system, and it provides you an open road with regard to the flexibility of how you develop and deploy your applications by taking away so many of the DevOps nightmares. How many of you out there have servers or applications, legacy applications, that you just continue to throw hardware at over the years just to keep them up and running as each iteration has grown and introduced possible bottlenecks in the code? There's a lot of those out there, and so what we want to do is help you break those down and make those applications more portable and more efficient in the way that they run. So, warning, a paradigm shift for many developers, especially those who have been developing a long time in CFML, is required. But the end goal is that we have hardware and engine independence, and that we migrate the idea of CFML architecture from these big honking applications that consume many, many resources and are extremely hardware independent to a services-oriented architecture. So one of the steps in that is CFML plus containers. And what do containers do? Why would you want to use a container when you're completely comfortable installing, a CFML server from the binary, Lucy or ACF, and configuring all that, and then it just runs, right? So what do CFML containers do? One, they eliminate your DevOps headaches. Because once you configure it the first time, the process of automatically deploying and scaling your application is as simple in many cases. For example, in Docker Swarm, incrementing from a 1 to a 2, from a 2 to a 3, from a 3 to a 10. So it simplifies the entire process, because once you've set up that configuration, you've set up the conventions, the way that you want to use those, it simplifies the whole world of scaling servers. If something goes down, you simply restart it, and boom, you're done. So, also security, because the networking models and containerized platforms are inherently more secure, because you explicitly expose the things you want to expose. Security, so many of the security problems that we deal with out there, or so many of the beefs that people have with CFML security, are eliminated because of it. zero downtime deployments, because you can deploy rolling updates with health checks already in place so that your containers won't switch over in a swarm to the updated container until the health check passes. Scalability and fault tolerance. So those are all things that containers provide you, and it's one of the reasons we're very passionate about it. It makes it more portable, it makes it more stable, and it decreases your headaches. So what else is next on the agenda? Let's talk about things that we have maybe in the future. One is command box minions. So let's talk, for example, in the containerized world, something like Docker Swarm orchestrates your Docker containers. But one of the things down the roadmap for command box is to introduce the concept of minions. So not only will you be able in the future to orchestrate your containers, you will be able to orchestrate multiple servers and multiple command box servers within those containers. It's like a Russian nesting doll. It just keeps going down and down and down and down. So imagine you now have a box load balancer, if you will, or a box master, if you will, and that single command box instance can control multiple minions within your containers, within your applications. So command box is really becoming more of a viable production deployment tool, and I will tell you without hesitation, because I use it in production, it's fully capable of delivering day in and day out stability. Next, also, Project GRU-C, the Grand Remote Unit for Command Box. And what that looks like down the road as we look to the future of CFML and Command Box is a central controller that is able to register its own minions, self-registration, issue commands to those minions, start them, orchestrate them, stop them, run scheduled tasks, schedule commands with a centralized dashboard, a UI that you can log in and use, and self-organization and orchestration. So, our hope for you, not our goal as Ortus, but our hope for all of us as CFML developers, is that we can evolve some of these elephants, and specifically some of these massive elements that are pain points for you as developers, and as Louis spoke to, have caused so much CFML shaming that exists out there. Helping you do that through modern CFML techniques, through excellent tools, and also by helping you to understand how microservices apply in the CFML world. At the end of the day, we hope that you embrace the idea of CFML in an evolved format as it evolves. Looking at, for example, microservices, which are bite-sized components or bite-sized applications with big power. They make legacy code updates less intimidating. Fewer resources are required to maintain that fault tolerance that for so many years we've thrown hardware at just to solve the problem. They are also versionable and maintainable. And tomorrow morning, Brad and I will be speaking a great deal about how you can leverage the update and upgrade process of your legacy applications in bite-sized portions by moving to a microservices architecture. Also, we will be introducing this summer the CBT templating language. It's based on some of the models out there of the templating languages like Twig, and what it will allow you to do, in effect, is to override templates upstream. So you'll be able to have one template that reuses items from a previous template and will allow you to chain those together. It'll be used as a module, and as Luis noted, the framework updates are already in place in version 5 that will allow that to happen. So you'll have a templating language that will also be compatible with other templating languages. So you'll have initially some of the conventions you see up here, where you can declare blocks, and then you can go ahead and use those blocks and override those blocks in other templates. So it'll focus on inheritance, more language constructs, and it'll also provide you with an extension that you can use to signify those templates and tooling as well for your IDEs to help you have syntax highlighting for those template files. So CBT, we're looking forward to that in the road. Alpha release is scheduled for summer of 2017, and like I said, the internal framework interception points are already in place. It allows you to dynamically replace content and encourages your code reuse and your templating, and eliminates so many of the pain points of CFML rendering with regard to even CF include or render view. So that's something we're very excited about. Those are all new horizons, things we're looking forward in the future. At the end of the day, the goal is that we eliminate pain points and DevOps nightmares for you as developers, that we provide you with renewed creativity and inspiration so that you can focus on creating great applications instead of dealing with so many of these pain points. And ultimately, that you have a sense of accomplishment at the end of your workday and a pride in the platform that you've chosen to develop in, CFML. And I will say day in and day out again that having worked in other languages and having at one point almost considered leaving CFML until I really discovered the power of some of the new tooling that was out there. Day in and day out, I can get more done in less time without reinventing the wheel in CFML than I can in any other language for web development. So, with that, we will close things up with Senor Jorge Reyes.
Hello.
Hello.
This is my favorite part of the keynote. We've seen a lot of stuff that the Ortus team is doing, and this is just a reminder that life is more than software. We're really passionate about software, but there are things beyond software, and there are higher things that actually give us purpose in life. We human beings are fascinating creatures. We've been designed to rely on each other for everything, in work, sports, family, you name it. For organizing this conference, we need to have the ability to rely on each other to be able to overcome and succeed. Early this year, we did a virtual training with a company. You know, average group of developers learning Callbox. We had the opportunity to meet a guy that was really talkative, very sharp guy. He was taking the training from home. We could see his kids in the back. And 2 weeks later, we learned that he had taken his own life. So that was a really, really sad moment. And it reminded us two things. First, you never know who you're talking to. The second thing is that all you see right now in the conferences is usually a facade of the people, right? There's more to it. It's only the tip of the iceberg. And we decided never again we're gonna miss an opportunity to reach out to people struggling. So if any of you are struggling right now, we want you to know that you're not alone. We all struggle through life, and you can reach out to us, and we're there for you. Not only for software, but for trying to figure out life, right? We're there for you, and if we cannot figure out together, at least we can cry together, you know? But we're there for you. Don't give up. While there is life, there's hope. So just know that. All of you are right now part of something really, really awesome at Ortus. 30% of everything that Ortus makes goes to an Shalom orphanage in El Salvador. So right now with your ticket, you're feeding a child for 4 months, which is really awesome. So thank you for being part of that. We believe that is our greatest responsibility and our greatest privilege to give back whatever we have. A lot, a little, we can always give back to the less fortunate. So thank you so much for being part of that. Having said that, thanks a lot for being here. Please enjoy yourself, learn. Don't forget to download the app and share your feedback, your constructive criticism as well. Everything's welcome. And let the sessions begin.